Hello, so I decided to go to some secondhand bookstores around Chicago, and I thought I would show you my journey and show you what I got. So the first one I went to is called Ravenswood Used Books. It's a neighborhood bookstore in a neighborhood in Chicago called Ravenswood. It is a beautiful bookstore. When you get inside, all the shelves are kind of close together and really tall, so you've got books everywhere, but enough room to walk. I don't know, it just feels incredibly cozy and warm. It's a beautiful little bookstore. After this trip, it has become absolutely one of my favorites. I really, really like this bookstore. So these top books are the ones that I got at Ravenswood Used Book. I got Fahrenheit 451. I really enjoy these old books that they just feel like these nice paperbacks. Here's the Ravenswood bookmarker. I really love used books. I feel like used books, I don't mind that there's a little bit of writing in them. I don't mind that something is highlighted because someone else read this exact copy and this is what they felt. I also really love paperback books. I feel like paperback books feel good in your hand. They're the kind of books that you feel like, you know, you can read them in bed. I don't know. I don't mind cracked spines. I like used books. This is a book that I've read before, but I just like the old paperbacks, and so I got an old paperback of this book. The next book that I got there was One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest. This is also a classic, but I've never read it. The print is very close together. There's a little bit of a stain right here, but that's fun. Maybe somebody was drinking coffee or something while they were reading the book. But again, this has that old school paperback feeling where it fits in your hand just perfectly. You feel like you can jump into bed and read this book. These type of paperback books are the ones that you throw in your purse, that you feel like you can read anywhere. I love them. The next one that I got is another Ray Bradbury book, one that I've been wanting to read, and I really love this color. It's Dandelion Wine. Ray Bradbury's Dandelion Wine. Uncork it slowly and inhale the heady aroma. Take a small sip. Suddenly you will find yourself transported into the strange and wonderful world of a most extraordinary 12-year-old boy named Douglas Spaulding. A world where miracles are just everyday occurrences, and even the most ordinary things are pervaded by eerie glimmerings of the supernatural and the unknown. So I got another old book that feels good. The pages are kind of yellowing, which I like. The next book that I got from Ravenswood Used Books is The Enchanted Night by Stephen Millhauser. Original tale set in Connecticut town over one incredible summer night. The improbable cast of characters includes a man who flees the attic where he's been writing his magnum opus every night for the past 9 years, a band of teenage girls who break into homes and simply leave notes reading, "We are your daughters," and a young woman who meets a dreamlike lover on the tree swing in her backyard. A beautiful mannequin steps down from her department store window, and all the dolls left abandoned in the attic and no longer believe in magically come to life. I thought that just sounded so sweet, and it's really short. It's 120 pages. The next book that I got at this bookstore is Nothing. Again, I just thought that the cover was so pretty. Paperback, my favorite. Okay, so I'm supposed to make this book sound enticing. You ready? Here we go. This book is about me, Charlotte, and my friend Frankie, and some stuff that happens to us last year. It wasn't anything amazing, trust me on this one, but personally, I'm tired of reading about abused, drug addict, depressed, alien, intense teens. And also, personally, I think Frankie and I are pretty funny. Actually, I think we're hilarious. But that could be a me thing. So if you want to read about some not incredible but not entirely basic 15-year-old girls, this book is for you. That's as enticing as it's going to get. I thought that sounded cute, so I want to read that. And then Matt got a couple of books. So those are the ones that I got at Ravenswood Used Books in Ravenswood, a suburb of Chicago. Again, I recommend that bookstore so much. If you're in Chicago and you're going to be traveling around and looking at used bookstores, I cannot recommend that bookstore enough. It feels cozy and warm and lovely. So go check that out. After we went to that bookstore, we went to a restaurant called Pick Me Up Cafe, and we had pancakes and French toast for lunch. We are adults and we can do that, and it was delicious. After that, we went to a bookstore called Uncharted Books. Uncharted Books is, it's kind of the quintessential used bookstore. There's a lot of room between the aisles. You know, it's a neighborhood bookstore. It didn't feel cozy and cramped and tall the way Ravenswood Books did to me. But I do understand that this is preference. So I like the cramped spaces and the books stacked on top of each other going to the ceiling. That's my vibe. But I get that it's not for everyone. And so Uncharted Books is for the other folks who like the bigger space, who don't want to be right on top of each other when they're looking for books. The first book I got there is Paper Girls Volume 2. So the reason I got Volume 2 is because it was there. And Paper Girls is a comic that I've wanted to read like crazy. Since I got this, Matt has gone online and found me a used copy of Volume 1. So I'll start reading these. Maybe I'll do a whole comic book series, but it looks really good. It's a series I've wanted to read for a very long time. And it's got such good colors, and this is a really well taken care of comic book. What else did I get? Oh, I got another graphic novel there. It's called Dancing at the Pity Party, a Dead Mom graphic memoir. Tyler Fetter had just white-knuckled her way through her first year of college when her super cool mom was diagnosed with late-stage cancer. Now, with a decade of grief and nervous laughter under her belly, Tyler shares the story of that gut-wrenching, heart-pounding, extremely awkward time in her life. She shares the sting of loss that never goes away, the uncomfortable post-death firsts, and the deep down, hard to talk about feelings of the grieving process, but also the ways a premature death of a loved one can eventually enrich your life. So that is a Dancing at the Pity Party, a Dead Mom graphic memoir. I just thought, I don't know, maybe I want to cry. So I wanted to read this, and it's another book I got. The next book I got is Still Here, a novel by Laura Vapnire. Vika, Vadik, Sergei, and Regina met in Russia in their school days, but remain in touch and now have very different lives in New York City. Sergei, while cycling through jobs as an analyst, develops an app designed to preserve a person's online presence after death, spurring questions about the changing perception of death and the future for virtual selves. How do our online personas define us, and what will they say about us when we're gone? In her keenly observant new novel, Laura Vapnire follows the intertwined lives of 4 immigrants as they grapple with love, a new home, and the absurdities of the digital age. I don't know, I thought that sounded really good. And, again, very pretty cover. The next book I got, which is a classic, I don't need to tell you too much about, The Perks of Being a Wallflower. I have not read it, and I want to do so. And here is the bookmark for Uncharted Books. The next bookstore we went to is called Myopic Books. It is such a cool bookstore. I love Myopic Books. Once again, it has that beautiful, tall ceilings, cramped space feel about it, but it's 3 levels, and it's 4 levels. So you walk in and there's tons of books, of course, but then you can go to another level. It's kind of like a balcony level where you can see onto the first level, and it's full of books up there. And then when you go to the next level up, there's like a place to sit with this huge window that you can look out onto Milwaukee Avenue. So Milwaukee in Chicago is kind of like a very hip and cool place. Lots of great restaurants, cool bookstores, a lot of vintage stuff. It's a very, very hip neighborhood. So looking out the window in Myopic Books onto Milwaukee Avenue is very cool, and it has this giant big oversized bench so you could plop up there and read some books if you wanted. And then in the basement is a whole nother section of books. Again, lots of room. It's a really nice bookstore. It's just when I went, it was very, 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 very crowded, so I didn't spend a lot of time in there. But I do want to go back when I can spend some more time. One of the books I got is Frankenstein by Mary Shelley. You know what this book is about. I haven't read it before though, so I did get some books that I knew about but that I have not read, and Frankenstein is one of them. I've heard it's very good. Matt didn't like it. Matt said he felt like it was boring. But we'll see. I got it. The next book I got is The Remains of the Day by Kazu Ishiguro. Again, this is a book I've heard of. The Remains of the Day is a profoundly compelling portrait of the perfect English butler and of his fading insular world in post-war England. At the end of his 3 decades of service at Darlington Hall, Stevens embarks on a country drive during which he looks back over his career to reassure himself that he has served humanity by serving a great gentleman. But lurking in his memory are doubts about the true nature of Lord Darlington's greatness, and graver doubts about his own faith in the man he served. So I had heard of this book, but I didn't know that that's what it was about. So after I read the book, I was like, all right, I want to read this book. And the next one I got is Lucy Foley, The Guest List. So this is a book that I have seen over and over on YouTube channels. In particular, just stuff from Lucy Foley. A lot of folks say that her work is very good. And it's a mystery, which I don't typically read mysteries or stuff like that. But it looks good. The Guest List. An exclusive wedding on a remote Irish island. The bride, the +1, the best man, the wedding planner, the bridesmaid. All have a secret, all have a motive, but only one is the murderer. Ooh. So, I think that looks really good. I'm very, very excited to read that. I've heard great things about Lucy Foley. These are the ones that I got at the used bookstores in Chicago. I did go to another used bookstore in the suburbs, so I'm going to give it an honorable mention. I don't have any pictures of the bookstore. Let me show you what I got there. I got The World to Come by Dara Horan. I love the cover of this book. $1 million Chagall is stolen from a museum during a singles cocktail hour. The unlikely thief, former child prodigy Benjamin Sidskid, is convinced that the painting once hung in his parents' living room. This work of art opens a door through which we discover his family's startling history, from an orphanage in Soviet Russia where Chagall taught to suburban New Jersey and the jungles of Vietnam. So, I thought that sounded interesting. The next book I got is another one that I've seen everywhere on YouTube, Normal People by Sally Rooney. So I have this book, but in another cover, and I really wanted this cover. So I am going to keep this cover, and I'm going to take my other book to a little neighborhood free library. And then the next book I got is another book that I have seen a lot on YouTube, is The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett. But this is also a book that I've been very much excited to read, and I was very happy to find a used copy. So that's it. These are the books that I hauled at the used bookstores here in Chicago. Chicago has wonderful used bookstores, so if you need any more recommendations, let me know. I'd be happy to give them. But Ravenswood used book, highly recommend. Also Myopic Books. They are the bookstores that feel cozy and warm and interesting, and if you want something a little bit with more room and you just want to look at books and you need people to be off your back and not feel claustrophobic, then I highly recommend Uncharted Books. So here it is. Read more books.